Welcome everybody to Frat Sports, where we're in a frat and we talk about sports. As always, I'm Chris, coming to you with
Charlie.
And our special guest of the evening, Mr. Treasurer, Mr. Man of Spreadsheets himself, Mr. Knockdown Three-Point Shooter, Brandon Gold.
That's correct. Ball don't lie.
The ball does not lie. That is something I would say you live your life by, isn't it?
That definitely. I tend to say that a lot, yes.
A lot being quite the understatement.
Yeah, a comprehensive life philosophy for Brandon Gold. And so I'm giving Charlie the reins here a little bit today. What do we got on the slate today, dude?
Right,
What's going on?
First on the slate, we got the All-Star Weekend up in Toronto. We have an amazing dunk contest that happened.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine doing these unbelievable dunks.
Well, the thing that stuck out to me most is how this came out of nowhere.
Yep.
I remember we talked about this earlier, and you and I both had no hype going into it because it was a bunch of relatively unknowns. I mean, you knew that LaVine would put on some kind of show, but I think that Gordon kind of stepping up to match him, and as some people think maybe besting him, that really created a surprisingly great event.
I mean, that's sort of what the dunk contest has become, right? It used to be where these megastars would come to All-Star Weekend, kind of get to show off, be part of the party. And now these All-Star Weekend, and especially the dunk contest, it's kind of become an avenue for like the younger guys to kind of show their stuff, get their name out there, build their brand. I mean, Zach LaVine, like, nobody would know who this guy is. He's like probably a C+ NBA player.
A C+? Is that what his rating is in 2K?
I bet it
Zach
is.
LaVine's not.
It actually
not
might
bad.
be a C+.
He's not bad.
I'll go 72 on 2K rating.
Oh boy.
But anyway, so I don't really know what that means for like his brand overall, because like obviously you have to be able to play. But it's interesting to watch how the dunk contest has kind of evolved.
I mean, it's fine to be the dunk contest guy.
Yeah, no, the past fans have been upset because the past few years the dunk contest has been very, kind of boring, kind of blah, just due to the lack of stars. I know Dwight was in it, 5 or 6 years ago.
That
before
contest with Dwight and Nate Robinson,
that was
where Dwight was
Yeah,
Superman and Nate Robinson
awesome.
were on the Kryptonite, that was amazing. That was the last great
Well,
one.
and
That
also,
was a good
'cause,
one.
like, those guys have personalities too. Like Nate Robinson is not a star by any means, but like he's a fun personality.
Definitely.
Well, and you had Blake Griffin that year,
Yeah,
drove over
Blake.
the car. Like,
Yeah, he had Blake Griffin. I know John Wall wasn't in it a few years ago, but
he didn't do a whole lot.
I know he didn't do even him. He
Yeah,
didn't
I
do a whole
remember
lot.
him
It's more about, I feel like, the personalities than it is
Definitely.
necessarily, or I guess having top flight dunking talent works, but everyone in the NBA is a top flight athlete.
Oh,
Well,
of
what was
course.
nice about this one is it was kind of a throwback, and there wasn't as much flash as like when Blake Griffin
Yes.
did it, and it's not like you're not blowing candles like off the rim anymore, and like
Yeah, I think it was just a better dunk. Like, the dunks
Yeah.
in this contest were not only great, but were fresh and new.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
Zach
I'd never
LaVine-
seen someone go, like, in fetal position and go underneath themselves.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Well, and then the dunk that won, Zach LaVine's through the legs from the free throw line. I mean, there's no props in that.
Yeah.
It's a straight amazing dunk.
So, yay, dunk
Yay,
contest.
dunk contest. Although it might need to change something up because its ratings are still down from when MJ did it. When Dwight
Well, but
Howard
that's
did
because
it.
I don't think people were expecting as great a contest as
Yeah,
it
no,
was.
heading-
If that was hyped up as like what it actually turned out to be, it would have gotten this.
So you think next year it'll have better ratings because of this one?
I
Maybe
mean,
a little.
possibly.
And heading into this year, I didn't expect much from it.
Yeah.
I knew Levine was a decent, not decent, pretty good dunker since he won last year.
I mean, it did enough to remind us that we could be surprised.
Yeah.
Still,
Definitely.
which I guess is important.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else?
So another event from the All-Star Weekend, a 3-point contest. And this, unlike the dunk contest, everybody is looking forward to.
Yeah,
The rematch between Klay
historic
and Steph.
field and all that stuff.
Steve Kerr having a very controversial comment beforehand, or he might have said it after, but he said, "Don't tell Steph this, but I was hoping for Klay and Steph to go 1-2 respectively." There's a little bit of controversy there, but this is exactly what the NBA wants, right? Where there's like a storyline going into this kind of meaningless exhibition of a event during All-Star Weekend. You got two guys on the same team, arguably two of the best like 3 to 5 shooters in the game, maybe the best two, and they put on a show.
And I think ultimately the only reason that Klay won is because he's so much more used to catching and shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Steph is the best off the ball shooter in the game, but none of this
that's
is off
that's
the ball.
what's so unique about Steph is we compare him to some of these shooters like Reggie Miller and Ray Allen. They were catch and shoot guys, and Klay Thompson's also a catch and shoot guy. I think what makes Steph really good is the what you said, off the ball dribble.
Yeah, and that's what's so unique about it. But so, an exciting
Wait, so I have a
three-point
question. So do you think Clay is a better catch and shoot shooter than Steph?
Well, I don't know because Steph never catches and shoots, or not never, but much more rarely. He creates off the dribble. In fact, I would say yes, Klay Thompson is a better catch and shooter.
I would agree with
catch
that.
and shoot.
I think he's a better catch and shooter.
Steph.
And I think he's actually said that before, where he's like, Steph in like every other facet of the game is better than me, but catch and shoot, like I got him on that one.
Yeah. That's
Although
probably
it's
accurate.
not exactly catch and shoot like the 3-point contest. Like
Well, it's closer to that because
yeah.
you pull it off
Closer.
the rack. It's much more similar.
yeah, agreed. All right, All-Star game. Obviously not much effort on defense.
Does anyone
I think-
still care about the All-Star game?
I do.
As
Here's the
an
thing.
NBA fan, I mean, I know it's the game that means nothing, and these best players like to put on a little show for the fans. I mean, I like watching.
Did you watch it?
I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched the beginning and the end only because it was Kobe's last, so I wanted to see the ovations
Okay,
for
that's
him.
fair.
But no, but the West had 196. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah.
I know one of the announcers said the scoreboard only went up to 199.
Yeah.
So had they broken
yeah.
2,000, it would have shown up as, I don't know, 0-1 or I don't
200.
know.
Yeah,
2,000.
that would have been hilarious.
Maybe for next year, but
But so we all know that there's no defense. That, as you said, it's a meaningless exhibition game where you kind of just get to watch the best
Yeah.
in the game sort of like go in a soft scrimmage. Russell Westbrook won the MVP for a second year in a row, playing the role of like the try-hard in the room of relaxed guys.
that guy.
So, I guess how you touched on the narrative, the story going into is important. The only story going into this one was Kobe's last
Yeah.
one, and other than that, it has nothing behind it. And I feel like that's kind of a consistent thing with it doesn't matter. It's like the Pro Bowl, but just we don't think anyone will get hurt.
That's true.
I mean, well, for me, like the NBA All-Star Game for me is infinitely more entertaining than the Pro Bowl. Just not necessarily from a storyline point of view, but just like there's something entertaining about watching like ridiculous alley-oops and like shots from almost half court.
I think Steph Curry did a half-court shot
Yeah, I mean,
to end the game.
and a lot of people argue that like the NBA itself doesn't even have that much defense, but it's still like it's a good product.
I
think
feel
it's
like
the
it's
hand
only
check
more
out for a
entertaining if
reason.
you're actually there. Watching that on
For
TV,
me,
I
it's
feel like is
entertaining
very
to watch.
bland.
I mean, like it's definitely less entertaining than like a regular high-powered NBA game, but I think it's way better than the Pro Bowl.
I guess.
I mean, the Pro Bowl
Marginally
is
better.
scraping
Yeah,
the bottom of the barrel.
no
like,
one likes the Pro Bowl.
I guess.
There's nothing worse than the Pro Bowl.
So All-Star Game was pretty good. I guess a rave weekend for the NBA. They seem
Yeah.
to be doing everything right
Yeah.
as a league. As being an NFL fan, I'm very jealous of the NBA and how they handle things. I want Adam Silver to replace Roger Goodell. Low key, but not low key at
We
all.
need more than one team that has a chance to win. That's a good segue actually, because now we're going to talk about the second half of the NBA season.
And more than one team having a chance to win, which
Are
probably no one
there
does.
is there more than one team that has a chance to win?
Well, yeah.
I'd say there are 3, and I'll be very shocked
I'll say
if
4. I'll say 5.
I'll say
five.
I'll say 3
I'll say
definite,
3.
and there are teams you could throw in the mix
I
there.
think
I
I
think
have
the
to say
3
3
the
as
three
you.
the 3 definite. I mean the West. I think I'll be very surprised if it's not San Antonio or Golden State out of the West. Seeing I don't know.
You don't think the Thunder are a real?
You can. Thunder's one of the teams that you can throw in there, but I think I don't like Russell Westbrook is a great
So
athlete,
you guys
great
have
player.
the Warriors, the Spurs, and the Cavs,
Yeah.
obviously. Then I definitely throw the Thunder. in there.
No, Thunder.
And then I'll throw the Clippers in there.
I
No.
don't throw the Clippers
I
in there.
absolutely throw the Clippers.
I don't
in
throw
there.
the Clippers in there.
Jeff Green could very easily be the small forward that they've needed this entire
Oh
time.
jeez.
They literally just need someone to
What?
stand in the corner and shoot corner
What
threes.
about JJ Redick?
And you mean their shooting guard? No, they need a small forward. That is the
Why?
position that has held them back for like 3 or 4 years straight. Because when you're playing a really good team and like you have one guy who is significantly worse than your other 4, because you're playing JJ Redick, who has actually gotten just consistently improved over the
Yeah.
years, Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin. So you have 4 really good players. If your 5th one is below average, which we've seen in years past with guys like
Yeah, Matt Barnes, and then a aging Paul
Jamal
Pierce
Crawford.
this
Matt
year.
Barnes was probably their best one. Paul Pierce hasn't worked
Yeah.
out. Wesley Johnson hasn't worked out.
Like
Lance
Caron
Stevenson
Butler. I mean, I
didn't
feel
work
like-
out. Josh Smith didn't work out. Like, Jeff Green is a different
Jeff Green
player
is
than all of
he's
them.
definitely an improvement. I'll give him that. But
And he's sort of the best fit for exactly what they need. Someone who can D up and handle an
that's
above-average
the biggest
player
thing.
and shoot threes. That's all they need. That's all Jeff Green
The
does.
thing I'll give you about Jeff Green is that, like, historically the Clippers have had like these big name guys where it's like Jamal Crawford, Caron Butler, Matt Barnes, who like they can shoot and they can like score, but they can't play defense.
Well,
And
Matt Barnes was
is a good
he
defensive
was the
player.
best option that they ever had for that small forward spot.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, when they had Matt Barnes, that was the time when they almost beat the Houston Rockets to play and they should have beaten the Rockets en route to play the Warriors in the conference finals, which is pretty much where you want to be if you're the Clippers.
Mhm.
But that was a team that beat the Spurs in the first round, and should have gone further than they did. But so they could very much so be that team again this year. And so if you have Blake Griffin gets healthy and Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, then I don't see why this team can't contend.
I mean, I think if they were in the East, I would give them. I would say they're about as good as the Cavs right now, and if they were in the East, they'd have a better shot. But they're not beating the Warriors, Spurs, Thunder. Like they're just not.
Well, they might not have to beat all of them.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like
They can beat they can
they're
beat
not
the
coming
Warriors.
out of the West.
They can absolutely beat the Warriors. They're maybe the only
No.
team in the West that can.
Nobody can beat the Warriors.
When you have two
Not the
guys,
Thunder. I think the Thunder have the best chance head on to beat the Warriors.
I think the Clippers have a better chance because when you see how the matchups play out, the only time that the Warriors have been slowed down in the last 2 years is when there have been two bigs who could dominate the paint. The Grizzlies were the only team that could do that last year. Coincidentally, two of the best big men in the game. And the only formula really to beat them is to dominate them and beat them up.
Yeah, but
inside.
DeAndre Jordan isn't. I mean, he doesn't really work in the post that much.
Yeah.
He's not an offensive like. He's
But
more.
he
It's
can-
more about his defense.
He just
and
has
his
to be
rebounding.
physical. You can have Blake Griffin working. Blake Griffin will have to pretty much control the whole game. He'll probably have to put up 30 in every game that they win, but he can do that. That's not an unusual thing for him.
No, as a Laker fan, I love criticizing the Clippers. I despise the Clippers. I think there's only one player, two maybe if you include the experience of Paul Pierce, but he's not really that productive right now. Chris Paul, I think, is the only great player on that team. I don't know. DeAndre Jordan, I don't like him at all.
Yeah, he's one-dimensional.
Blake, I don't know. I feel Blake has a lot of maturing to do, as you've seen in these past couple weeks when he, I don't know, punched the trainer guy or whatever. I don't know. I just feel if Blake Griffin is your second option and DeAndre Jordan is only good with a solid point guard, which Chris Paul is, I don't know. I don't see them beating the Spurs or the Clippers.
Blake Griffin just doesn't seem like one of those guys that like makes your team better. Like he's kind of a black hole.
Wait,
on
wait,
offense.
wait. He's kind of a black hole.
Yes.
All right. Now, I'll give you your criticism, B-Gold, but that is just an idiotic thing to say.
No.
He
gets it in
how
the
many
post. And
how
then
many
he doesn't-
points does Blake Griffin average this season?
23,
23,
24, yeah.
23, 24
20
points.
assists.
That sounds like the exact opposite of a black hole.
No,
coincidentally.
you can score a lot of points and be a black hole on offense. That's Kobe. I mean, admittedly,
No,
like,
no, because
what-
then
that is-
Blake Griffin's also an extremely efficient player who can pass and shoot. And you can absolutely work the ball through your offense because that's what the Clippers do. No, that is. I know you hate the Clippers, but you're giving me that look where if I didn't hate the Clippers, I would be telling you you're right, Chris.
Yeah, no,
So tell me, Brandon.
granted, a few years ago, I thought Blake Griffin was overrated. All he could do is
Now that he's got that
all he
mid-range
could
shot,
do was catch the ball and dunk it. Like that's what I saw him as. Granted, yes, he has developed a decent mid-range, and I don't see him as a complete black hole on offense.
He's
I
not
just, I just don't think the Clippers can.
he is someone you build your offense around.
no.
A black hole in offense is like Tony Allen, or someone who
But
can't
Tony Allen's
shoot
just
at all.
incompetent on defense. No, I'll compare him to like
On
Rudy.
defense?
Rudy Gay. No, on offense. Sorry, Tony Allen can't
You
do
compare him to
anything on
Rudy
offense.
Gay?
Yeah.
Are you about to say Rudy Gay's a black?
Rudy
No, so
Gay,
I can
Tyreek
see
Evans,
I can see where he's
Tyreek
going with
Evans
Rudy Gay.
is
Rudy
another
Gay,
one.
yeah, statistically he averaged at least
He just
18
doesn't
points
make
per
his
game
teams
the
better.
past few years, but yeah, he has not made his teams better. And
mean-
actually, when teams have traded him, those teams have gotten better.
Right.
The Raptors had him. They had a decent.
So how-
they had a decent team on paper.
When did the Clippers draft Blake Griffin?
2011.
What?
2009.
So-
yeah, 2009.
So they must have not done
Number
too
one
good
overall.
if they got the first overall pick, right? Now
Well,
we're
that
talking.
was also before they had Chris Paul.
Well, Okay, but it does.
It's a big little thing there.
One player doesn't take you from getting the
And
first
DeAndre
overall
Jordan.
pick to being one of the 5 best teams in the NBA. And
Like
DeAndre
you said,
Jordan
Blake
was
Griffin doesn't do that then, which is the claim you're trying to tell me.
Whoa, I don't remember using those words. And luckily we're recording this so I can go back and see that I didn't
Alright,
use
sorry.
those words.
Keep going.
But you're saying how he doesn't make a team better. And since they've drafted him, the Clippers have done nothing but get better. Is that true or false?
Well, yeah, but that's a little
Oh,
like
I mean,
causality
True.
implying.
I don't know, they haven't
You got-
made it to the
they
conference
got Chris
finals.
Paul,
They
but-
can't get out of the second round.
Huh?
They can't get out of the second round.
Well,
right?
no
Are
one-
they getting better?
They've
Well, who
had-
can with the Spurs and the Warriors in that conference? I mean,
No,
yeah, that's...
I mean-
They should have done it last year.
Tell that to
they,
the other
they've had
dozen
the talent
teams
to get
in the
to
West.
the finals before, and they couldn't break through. I think there's a variety of factors.
But
that
whether
go
or
into
not...
it.
But I'm not... First of all, let's not confuse what I'm... You guys made the point that Blake Griffin doesn't make your team better. And since the Clippers drafted Blake Griffin, they are now
Yes,
not
the
only...
Clippers
it is
organization
not
has gotten
only
better, yes.
it's their first era of respectability in
All right,
decades.
And since they've gotten Chris
And you
Paul,
ta-
they've gotten better every year. I mean,
yes,
you can say that about
because
so
both
many
of those
things.
players make your team better. That is
Yeah.
exactly what I'm
Oh,
saying,
of course.
and I'm fine with that.
No, but you can't just
No,
jump to
no,
that
He's an
conclusion.
all-pro. He's second
I mean,
team All-NBA.
they've added so many guys since they drafted Blake Griffin. Jamal Crawford.
But not all of them are second team NBA.
But,
Right now, I'm just arguing for Blake Griffin being an
but you
all-star
could say-
and a very
you
good
could say
player.
when the Bulls got Brian Scalabrine, they got better. It's just
No,
they
you
happened,
absolutely...
They
that is-
happened to get Derrick
what?
Rose the next year, and then they kept getting better the next 3 years.
Beagle,
like, oh,
I
they,
know
they
you hate the
drafted Brian
Clippers,
Scalabrine.
but can you
then.
please
No, but
end this?
I don't think you can compare Blake Griffin with Brian
No,
Scalabrine.
I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying that
Ugh.
if you say that Brian Scalabrine, let's say he was drafted in 2002, and then hypothetically, let's say that Derrick Rose drafted in 2003, the next 5 years the Bulls just improve every year. And then you say, oh look, they drafted Brian Scalabrine in 2002. That means that he's made them better
If Brian
because they drafted
Scalabrine
him.
made the second All-NBA team, or whatever Blake Griffin made, or whatever Griffin made, if Brian Scalabrine averaged like 20 points and 10 rebounds a game, and if he was one of the people who handles the ball the most and who is in control of the team, then I would absolutely say that. Because Blake Griffin is absolutely in control of a team and it scores 20 points, gets 10 rebounds, and is at the center point of their improvement.
I mean, they've
He's
obviously
not an irrelevant
they
force of
haven't
it.
improved
He is
that
the
much.
he is the
They've been a 4 or 5 seed in the West for the past 5 to 6 years.
which the West is one of the one of the toughest conferences that has ever
Yeah.
existed
right,
in
but
the
how
NBA
can
ever.
you say they improved if they've been like the same thing for the past 6
Because
years?
I think
in a row?
improved
In the same way that
in
Steph
what they're
Curry
known
can win the
for.
MVP and then can be the most improved player the next year, sometimes you can improve, but everyone else just improves
But then how do you
more.
gauge that though? How do you gauge
By
the
saying
improvement?
that someone improved, but everyone else improved. The same way that you
But
gauge...
their wins aren't going up. I mean, like they're the same seed in the playoffs. How is their team getting better if they're the same seed in the playoffs
Because
every year?
The West is really tough.
But you can't. That's just such a like.
No, I think bottom
that's not a
line,
quantitative argument.
Blake Griffin's a
And
good player.
First of all, how many years in a row have they been 4 seed? Okay,
let me
two
look it
two
up.
is the maximum number that
Wait.
could be. Beagle's going
keep
into
going,
his
keep
going
going.
into his deep realm of NBA knowledge.
Last year they were a 3 seed.
Oh, so last year they were a 3
The
seed.
year before, I want to say 4 or 5. Year before that, 4 or 5.
That sounds like literal improvement to me.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
sounds like
well, I
4
would.
or
I mean, they're
5 to 3.
Well, it's
The
less.
wins-
Sorry, it's less seeding as much as far as you go in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Wait, you cannot go from arguing seeding to arguing something else. Just like
No, I can. That's my
you're
real.
running out of things that don't matter.
No, the actual thing, because a lot of times in the NBA we talk about there's like a progression where your team
Okay, but
gets
so they
bounced in the
blew it.
first round. Just let me
They
finish.
blew it.
You get bounced in the first round, then you come back, you mature a little bit, then you get to the conference finals hopefully, and then if you keep improving, then eventually you can maybe win a title. But the Clippers just stalled out at this point.
But that's not even.
And they can't
that's
break
not
through.
even true. Because 2 years ago was when the Sterling thing happened, and they were playing the Warriors. Who won that series, Brandon Gold?
Yeah, the Clippers did.
Okay,
Mhm.
so they've made it to the
In
second
7
round 2 years in a row. They
So
should have
the
made.
the Warriors
the
got bounced out
conference-
that year.
They should have made
and
the
then
conference
they went on
finals.
to win the finals.
They should have made the conference finals this year, and they choked.
Right.
But they choked. They had it right in front of them, and they choked. But
Yeah.
you can't argue that there was no improvement. That team was much better than the year before. They had
In
ton
terms
more
of
potential.
how they finished, they didn't improve.
All right,
but
I'm-
as a team, statistically,
I'm tired
Well,
of
in
saying
terms of
they
how
got
they
better.
finished and in terms of how their season went, it was the same. So I don't know where the improvement is coming from.
the fact that one they had a 3-1 lead in a series and then totally blew it, and the other one they didn't have much of a chance and we're
Nope.
not at all ready to contend.
I'll believe it when I see it, Clippers. That's all I'm saying.
I
They have no chance
Now
to come out of the
I
West.
No, I
Desperately-
agree
No
with Charlie
chance.
there.
now I
agree.
desperately want the Clippers to just beat one of those
They
three
have
teams,
Absolutely.
and I will never let you forget it.
No chance. to
They
win
have,
the
they have a
West.
chance to win one.
No.
You don't need, as the Warriors showed last year, you don't need to beat a bunch of elite teams to make it into the finals. All they did was beat. The first round was
Yeah, that's right. The three teams they swept the Pelicans.
they swept the Pelicans.
They
They,
had Anthony Davis.
and then the Grizzlies.
the Grizzlies put up a fight. They were
But-
up 2-1, but no, none of
How
those
good are
teams.
The Grizzlies are now terrible, even though they've changed nothing, and they were sellers at this trade deadline.
Yeah.
And then they beat the Rockets, who you could again argue weren't even good enough to be there in the first place.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's a solid
you
roster.
can, you can make it through the playoffs without beating every contender. You might only need to beat one. There's a chance that the
Well-
Spurs, Warriors, and Thunder can mostly knock each other out.
Could that happen where the Clippers would only play one of the Warriors, Warriors,
Pretty sure.
Spurs,
Where the
Thunder,
Clippers are, they'll probably finish 4th, which means
and it'll be
they'll have to
Warriors,
play.
Spurs,
They'll have to
Thunder.
play Warriors in the first round, in the second round. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But the
Spurs,
the
Thunder,
Spurs
in
and the
second,
Thunder,
in the conference.
They
finals.
could theoretically both get knocked out, but at
Yeah,
least one of them does. So they'll guaranteed to avoid one of those teams.
Yeah, but they'll probably have to play two of them.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think the Clippers can beat the Thunder. I don't think
That would
like,
be
They
a
can.
good series. My bet would be on the Thunder though.
they would probably like not a good chance, but there's a chance, and I think they're one of the only teams that can beat the Warriors. So I
think
totally
it's the same
see
chance
this.
as the Thunder beating the Warriors.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, which is small.
but it exists. And now that I'm really
It
glad you said
exists.
that. So the Clippers have the same chance of beating the Warriors as the Thunder. I'm fine with that. I'll take that because I feel like I've been
No, no, no,
negotiating
no,
for the
no,
Clippers'
that's not what I
dignity for
said.
the last 10
I
minutes.
said the Clippers have the same chance of beating the Thunder as the Thunder have beating the Warriors.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah, no, that's
No,
my
the,
point.
no, the Clippers have a much better chance.
Of
The
what?
the Thunder are not that much better than the Clippers.
Yeah, they are. I think
They're
their
not.
ceiling is much higher.
They, I'm really done arguing these hypothetical ceilings.
I mean, KD
We'll
is,
see, but the Clippers are absolute
Westbrook's a
contenders
bad man.
because of
Yeah.
the moves that they made at the
KD
trade
is the
deadline.
third best player in the NBA right
Charlie, hard left turn transition.
No.
Tell me a little bit about the trade deadline.
now. That's not that hard left. So on the Clippers, actually let's talk about the Cavs first. So the Cavs got Channing Frye, who, as we all know, about 6'8", 6'9", good shooter, very similar to Kevin Love. It's interesting
Oh,
that
you
they
don't
made
say.
that move. So what does this mean for Kevin Love, Lopez? Is he done in Cleveland?
Is he done in? All right, that is an outlandish question to ask.
I mean,
That is like
led
if you're
ESPN.
that is like
Led
if you're
SportsCenter.
hanging out with your girl, if you're hanging out somewhere with your girlfriend in public, and then another girl like walks up to you and says hi, and then your girlfriend starts like questioning you. Like, no, they can, the fact that Channing Frye's, he's specifically Kevin Love's backup. He's not there to take his job. He's there to be the sub when Kevin Love gets tired, because Channing Frye is just a poor man's Kevin Love. But I really want to emphasize poor man's.
Mhm.
And no, there's no way that this means the end for Kevin Love. This does mean that if Kevin Love goes into a slump, they have someone to sub in, or if he's in foul trouble, they have someone to sub in. It completes the team, is what it does.
Well, I've never felt that Kevin Love was a good fit for the Cavs, and I was actually very surprised he signed an extension
Yep.
this past summer. I agree. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to replace Kevin Love with Channing Frye. The last time I heard, I know he's been in the league for I don't know,
7
least
years or so.
at least 7
Yeah.
years. Last time I saw him actually play somewhat decent was in 2010 when he was on the Phoenix Suns,
Ooh,
facing
great
facing
That's the only time I
facing
remember
my
him was on the
Lakers in the
Suns.
conference finals, and he was actually a decent player. He might have been sixth man. I don't know if he started or not, but I don't know. Since then, he's bounced to kind of irrelevant teams, borderline playoffs, if that. So it'll be interesting to see how he does now that he's on a contender. But no, it doesn't make sense to. While Kevin Love does not fit with that team, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to replace Love with Channing Frye.
So I don't think this necessarily means the end for Kevin Love, but I think it definitely opens the door and it gives them the flexibility of getting rid of him. I'm not really sure how the numbers would work out in terms of who they could get for Love, or like what Frye's salary means on the books for them. But
Well,
I
so
think,
Channing Frye's his contract ends at the end of the season.
and he's getting like $10 million. I think this is saying.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like maybe if he can kind of take Love's spot as like the big man who can shoot, like maybe
He's not taking Love's spot though. That is not going to happen, barring a complete collapse of Kevin Love's game.
Yeah.
If Kevin Love
obviously
ceases
he's
to
not
be
at
Kevin
the level
Love,
of Kevin Love. I agree with that. But I'm saying I think Kevin Love might be at the point where his screwing with the chemistry of the Cavs is not worth it to them anymore. Because if they're he's had so many issues since he's been there.
All that Kevin Love has done is been
Shoot
left
threes.
out of the offense and been reduced to like a marginal role compared to what he should have.
Well, but
And since Tyronn Lue's been the coach, he's fit into his role much better because they understand that you can't just like spot him up on the 3-point line and treat him like he's Channing Frye. So now he's working much better. I don't have any concerns about his starting status.
I don't think it's his fault that he.
Brandon Gould is Charlie fishing with this.
I think so. I mean, again, it doesn't make
Can we talk
sense.
about some of the other trades?
It doesn't make sense
That's my
to.
point.
All right,
Yeah,
you
go
can
ahead.
finish.
So I mean, since Love has been there, like he gets left out of like the Instagram posts. Like he's obviously like not one of the guys that like LeBron is like into, and that he just doesn't really fit with the team. So I think if the Cavs might just kind of be feeling this out right now, and then if Channing Frye does very well, Love just kind of keeps going on what he's doing. Maybe they'll deal with it.
If Frye ends
I just
up,
think this opens the window.
If Frye shoots 50% from deep,
if
and
he ends up,
can D up guys like he never has in his entire career, then he maybe has a slight chance.
He's not going to replace Love, but if he's 50% of what Kevin Love is, I think it opens the door.
if he ends up in an Instagram post and Love's not there, then maybe there's something.
That's a good
maybe.
Call. That's a good call.
Maybe.
It's all about the Instagram. All right, so more trade deadline talk. So there's a lot of rumors surrounding the Clippers and Blake Griffin, whether he should have gotten traded or not. Did not get traded.
Should not have gotten traded.
Lopez does not think he should have gotten traded. Brandon Gould, do you think the Clippers should have traded Blake Griffin?
Should they have traded him to try and rebuild? No. Should they have traded him to try and get someone better?
So
Yes.
two of the names I heard possibilities for just straight up 1-to-1 trade: Al Horford and Kevin Love. Would you have done either of those trades?
I would have done Al Horford
As the Hawks or as the Clippers?
as the Clippers. I don't think the Clippers will
But do you
win
like
the
that from both
championship.
sides, actually.
would the Hawks take that trade?
I would have.
I think so.
But how can? I don't know. How can you say that
Bring
that's
a star
good-
to the highlight factory.
I mean, I guess so, but how? I don't understand how. If you think that Blake Griffin is the kind of person who would help out Atlanta's team, how can you not think that he also wouldn't help the Clippers?
Well, because there's something to be said about like running your course in like a city and like a combination of guys just not working. Like the Jeff Teague Horford like mix has been together for a while now, and they can't break through the East. So I think there's something to be said for just kind of mixing it up, especially if there's like comparable players.
And you think that Al Horford is even comparable to Blake Griffin
Yeah.
in terms of a player?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's got a better
absolutely.
post game.
Yeah, statistically no, but I mean I've seen Al Horford
In terms
play.
of
He's
I
not-
don't think that you can trust Al Horford in a
He'd
playoff
help
series.
the locker room.
You
He'd
know,
help a lot.
you would rely on Blake Griffin.
No,
Griffin
you
is
cannot.
someone
You
that
do not know you can rely on Blake Griffin.
you know that
You can't rely on Blake Griffin
in
for
whatever
anything.
playoff series that the Clippers are playing in, one of their main functions of their offense will be throwing the ball to Blake Griffin in the post, and he'll create his own shot. Al Horford can't do that.
Yes, he can. Al Horford can definitely work in the post.
Wait, Al Horford can spot up from mid, and he can kind of shoot with
He
range.
has a very solid
But-
post game.
But he doesn't create for himself.
I mean, in the post he does.
I mean, I wouldn't say nearly towards the factor of what you need to do, especially on a team where you have what you refer to as a black hole on offense in terms of DeAndre Jordan. There's someone who absolutely can't handle the ball.
Yeah,
you can only have
for
so many
sure.
bricks
Yeah.
for hands on your team. JJ Redick is.
Wait. You're telling me Al Horford is a bricks for hands?
I'm saying he can't create his own shot. He can't create off the dribble.
He's a better shooter than Blake Griffin,
He's-
and he has a better post game than Blake
He's a
Griffin.
better spot up shooter, maybe. But if he has the ball for more than a second and he has to move, I absolutely not.
Oh, yeah.
Blake
Well,
Griffin is a
Griffin's
much
more
better
athletic.
athlete.
Yeah.
He
That'll give you.
It's the ability to create
But then-
and the ability to have ball handlers. Now, Al Horford can shoot probably better than Blake, but he can't ball handle. And
That's fair.
if
How much does
you
he need to ball handle as a four? I mean,
will ask LeBron James / Paul George / Draymond Green.
so 3 threes.
And
see
on
him
that
with three
Clippers
LeBron,
team,
who
small
plays 4 all the
forwards.
time, Draymond Green, who is absolutely a power forward, and Paul George, who's played 4 for the Pacers this year. 3
Paul George
threes.
playing 4 for the Pacers.
It's a
Three
new
or
thing this
four,
year. Look it up, Charlie.
All right.
It's
Yeah.
called knowing your facts.
If you go to the old school style, then you need a guy who can work in the post.
But so Blake Griffin handling the ball in the post is important for the Clippers because they have no one else who handles the ball except for Chris Paul. JJ Redick is not going to be running your offense. Jeff Green absolutely isn't.
and neither is DeAndre Jordan.
And that's where he really fits into the Clippers well, and why a trade like that wouldn't be good. I actually like the trade for Kevin Love more because when Kevin Love was in Minnesota and he had no one to rely on, that's when he was at his best.
Yeah,
And I think that Chris Paul and Kevin Love could play an excellent pick and roll 2-man game, and that they could really easily work in DeAndre Jordan. But I don't think Al Horford's the guy to do that.
Yeah, I would do both of those trades actually, Horford and Kevin Love for Blake Griffin. I'm kind of selling Blake Griffin at I've never been a huge fan of his.
But if you're the
After
Cavs, you would never do.
No, yeah.
no.
If you're the Cavs, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
wouldn't-
think
wouldn't you?
Hawks it would be mutually
Wouldn't you,
beneficial.
man? You'd be the most physically dominating team in the NBA, and it wouldn't even be close. I mean, you would have Tristan Thompson, Blake Griffin, Timothy Mozgov, LeBron James, just
Wow.
all those physical presences on the same team.
That'd be an amazing matchup against the Warriors. Just
It would be
complete
polar
opposites.
opposites. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Now that trade, I wish that trade would have happened.
But thankfully it didn't,
Dang.
and it never should have because Blake Griffin is a franchise player.
All right, so talking a little more basketball.
What you got?
They're in the summer. We got a couple free agents. Kevin Durant is one of these. So as we know, the NBA salary cap is about to explode this summer, and somehow the Warriors will have room to sign Kevin Durant and keep all of their key guys.
That's.
well,
I don't think that's true.
Well,
I think they'd have to
Yeah.
lose Iguodala, Barnes, and Bogut.
really,
I mean,
with
you'd have
the
to
salary cap
sacrifice.
increase.
You'd have to
There's no way they
sacrifice
can keep
a lot.
all those guys and have Durant.
Well, I would absolutely give up those 3 guys for Durant.
yeah.
I mean,
Honestly,
Actually,
that
depending on how the Warriors do,
if they win a title, I wouldn't give
if
them
the
up.
Warriors win 67 plus games and win the title
this year,
this year,
Yeah.
Durant should not go there because clearly I don't think he's needed.
Yeah.
And if I'm the Warriors, I don't know why try and break up that. I mean, I've seen those Warriors play. I mean,
Like,
they don't have. I mean, yeah, Curry's a big name.
You can only
played
take one
recently.
shot every possession. you know?
Exactly.
So Kevin Durant doesn't really add anything to that team. They already have Klay Thompson. They already have Steph Curry. Iguodala, Bogut, all those guys fill in important roles. And when you talk about winning championships, you need guys that fill those roles.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and I think it's not as obvious as a lot of people make it out to be. But if you have the chance to sign, would you say the third best player in the NBA right now?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes. When healthy.
If you have the cap space to do that, you have to make that move. Like, if they win the title, it's a tough decision. But if I'm the GM, I'm making that move.
I say if they win the title, don't bother trying to break up the chemistry.
Well,
And I think I can speak
How
from
old's Iguodala?
I can speak from experience with my Lakers. They won 2 titles back to back, 09 and 10.
Oh, boo.
No. What the problem was is the GM tried. There was a lot of rumors circulating about Gasol being traded, Odom being traded back when he was relevant, and that caused, I don't know, Gasol felt betrayed because he felt he had finally found a place in LA, and when his contract was up, Lakers offered him more money, and he went to the Bulls, and
So the one thing about that is that Iguodala and Bogut are 32 and 31 respectively right now.
Yeah.
So Iguodala's gonna be 33 after the season's done. So are you really gonna re-sign him? He's probably gonna want like 4 or 5 more years.
I'd say
That's
if
a
they
good
win
point.
if they win the title, you stick with it.
Really?
You stick with it. If they don't,
I'm taking a 28-year-old Kevin Durant, probably 3 to 4 more years
Who else?
of his
Who
absolute
else would they have to
prime.
lose? Because
And
I
it
also
was those two.
struggle to see how they can pay Steph Curry, Klay Thompson,
'Cause the
Kevin
cap is
Durant,
gonna blow
and
up.
Draymond Green, who they just made a max player, and then fill in the rest of the roster.
I mean-
They're paying Enes Kanter north of $10 million, so that's almost not. I mean, 20 for Steph, 20 for Klay. That's $90 million just in your
I
starting
mean,
rotation.
I don't think any of us know like the exact numbers, but the rumor has been swirling. So like it's a possibility. Like it's feasible cap wise.
We'll see. I think it ultimately depends on what they do this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
So here's an alternate possibility. If you're the league, do you allow Kevin Durant to sign?
Yeah, that's a great point because you can't.
They've turned away trades before,
Right.
as Brandon Goldstein, you are probably
knows
still
all
salty
too
about.
well.
The only reason the NBA / David Stern was able to veto that is because the Hornets, the New Orleans Hornets, were owned by the NBA at the time.
So they
So
had
they were-
to-
they were
that's just like the
why-
acting
they had a
GM.
direct hand
Yeah.
in it. So
Yeah.
that's the only
So
reason they could do that.
Because
Okay.
other than that,
But
I've not seen a
I still think
actual
for
veto.
the layperson that doesn't know that, like justifying the Chris
Can
Paul
you veto
veto,
a signing?
how could you justify the Chris Paul veto and not veto the Kevin Durant to the Warriors? Because that's probably
Because they
more,
can't.
it's
Well,
more
as
egregious.
we've learned, yes, if they get Kevin Durant, that'll be one of the best teams in history on paper. But
Yeah.
as we've seen with my 2012-13 Lakers,
I
a
mean-
team good on paper can lead to not
Well,
Yeah,
and
and
I
then-
didn't
productive
realize
at
that
all
the
with Dwight.
NBA being directly involved was what mattered.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
that makes sense.
And also like the Karl Malone, Clyde Drexler, like those Lakers were unbelievable.
No, they didn't
on
have
paper.
Clyde Drexler. It was Gary Payton.
Gary Payton, yeah, sorry. And then they had like two
Chris
other
Paul.
guys, right?
What was the big four was Kobe, Shaq, Payton,
Yeah.
and aging Karl Malone.
Yeah, that's just
Ooh.
that's
We still average. I don't know.
unbelievable
He did
on
12
paper.
and 9. Wasn't bad. I mean,
But
how much you can average when you have
did
a
that team
rising
win a
Kobe?
title?
and Shaq?
No.
They lost to Detroit.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
they did.
Yeah,
I remember that.
it's-
Mr. Big Shot. They just retired
No,
Johnson's
the-
number.
What a
Yeah, the
guy.
Lakers were favored in that series heading into it, but no, the Pistons deserved
The
it. And
Pistons
end of story.
destroyed you.
On defense, they
just
shut Shaq
absolutely
down.
destroyed
And
the
I was too
Lakers.
young. I don't think I actually watched that series, but
Oh,
I've
I watched
seen
every
no,
minute of
I've,
that series.
I've seen highlights, and no, this
That series was delicious.
it wasn't
Oh,
a
was-
fluke. That
because
Ben
the
Pistons
Wallace
were the
feasting.
better team. Yeah.
Pistons were feasting all
Follow
series
lie.
on
Yeah.
your weak, old,
The weak and old
Just
Lakers.
brittle Lakers.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic. What a great
Made the
series.
finals.
Anyways,
Couldn't have been that
Alright.
weak.
anything else interesting from the trade? deadline?
Other free agents this summer: Dwight Howard, Rondo, Al Horford are all free agents.
Does anyone still care about Dwight Howard?
Nah.
I'm finding it really. I
If-
don't think
if you're
that
a
he changes
rising-
his
He's
team anymore.
he's really the guy that.
If
doesn't
you're
make
a
it to
rising
the-
young team, I say maybe like Boston.
Yeah.
You know,
Somebody
they've
will
had a
give him
good
a max.
they've had a good season, but they don't have that it player. Now Dwight, don't get me wrong, he's not that it player, but it brings a big name there.
I was
No.
surprised that they didn't make a move to get him,
Yeah.
especially when you would assume that Houston was selling so low.
Boston was
that's true.
surprisly quiet at the trade deadline.
Yeah,
I don't know. Did they do?
I
anything?
would have
don't
been
think they did
really
anything.
Yeah.
interested to see Dwight Howard on Boston, just because of how interesting that team then becomes.
Yeah.
Because you have so much shooting on that team between Thomas, Smart, R.J. Hunter, Avery Bradley's a pretty good shooter.
Yeah.
It's that inside dominant presence that they're missing. That would have been the most perfect fit. I'm almost
And
disappointed.
if
that
anybody
they didn't
could
have
work his personality into it, it'd be Brad Stevens.
Yeah, Brad Stevens is a pretty chill guy, so,
Yeah.
so probably would have worked.
It'd be a solid signing.
Brad Stevens is chill. He used to be in college.
He's done a very good job.
I think he just graduated from college.
Yeah.
He's like 35 or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is,
Ridiculously young.
so yeah, Rondo. Who cares?
Well, no, I won't be surprised if some young team offers him a max deal.
I just think.
Is he worth
A
it?
max
so
deal?
much
Is he
Oh,
worth
I
it?
hope not.
No. Is he worth
No
it?
way.
Probably not. But I could see, I don't know, some stupid team.
I'll be
doing that.
honest, I don't think a team should sign him at all, except for, a modest veteran price.
Yeah.
I think Sacramento's a good fit for him. Like, that
Shut
just
up,
seems like a
Charlie.
solid like.
Shut up, Charlie.
I don't know.
What?
Shut up. Charlie.
That team's not going anywhere.
No, I mean I'm not saying they're gonna do anything, but I'm saying like as far as
You just want to put him on there to put him with Rondo and Cousins, because why not?
Boogie.
yeah, just see those
Willie Cauley
personalities.
Stein.
See those personalities mix.
I think Willie Cauley Stein's a good player.
Too small for me. All right, now we real sharp left turn to baseball. Spring training getting started soon.
Yeah, now you're Brandon. You're done for this.
Yeah,
huh?
all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I don't know much about
No,
baseball.
we
Go
can-
Dodgers.
We can take your input as a outside.
Hey, Brandon, are the Cubs going to win the World Series?
Probably not.
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Just the team that is what I've noticed. Like I don't pay attention during the regular season.
But you watch a lot
I'll
of
check.
SportsCenter.
I check the standings
So
here
I
and
know you
there,
kinda
and
know.
I do watch the playoffs. Like I know who's good and who's not. The team that is always favored heading into the playoffs rarely wins. I've noticed in
That's
baseball.
That's very true.
I
It's
don't
usually about the pitching.
Charlie, are the Cubs
Yeah.
going to win the World Series?
Cubs are going to
I
win
mean,
the World Series.
well, like my brother's a Cubs fan, so I don't ask why.
Sorry about that.
On paper, this is the best roster the Cubs have had since I've been watching them.
So you know how much that matters, especially
Yeah.
in baseball? Nothing. It actually doesn't matter
it's really
at all.
not true.
As a Tigers fan, how is that not? As a Tigers fan, I am very used to going into every season
but
with
the Tigers,
one
they've
of the
made World
5.
Series.
We've made one World Series, or 2 World Series in the
Two.
last decade. We've lost both.
They
of them.
made back-to-back, right?
No.
Were you swept?
Yeah. No,
By someone?
We were swept by the
Detroit
Astros,
made
I think in
back-to-back World
2005, and then we very recently made it and got swept again.
Yeah,
I think by the Giants.
might have been the Giants. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were swept by the Giants in 2011 and swept by the Astros in 2005. Charlie, I know you're going to correct my math on that. But so, in baseball especially, having a talented roster does not at all equate to success at all. It's all
That's quite
about...
the statement.
It doesn't. The Royals, this year everyone knew that they were good. The year before, people were picking them to be 4th or 5th in the division. No one was
Right,
expecting
but that
them to
roster
be
is
nearly...
talented. I mean, you can't say that they're
Every
not
roster in
talented.
baseball is talented.
It's just not true.
It is true, and the Royals don't have more talent than other people. You can't make the it's just a talented roster. They have a healthy amount of first round picks, but every single team does, and that team was only full of prospects who hadn't made it, or it was full of prospects who hadn't made it until they made it that year,
Yeah.
and they all made it at the same time, kind of reaching their perspective, critical growth as players, all at the same time in the same season, at the same critical juncture to rally to get to the playoffs and then to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we have learned, in the past years, starting pitching has been, and pitching in general, is kind of what the biggest determinant of a team's success, especially in the playoffs, is PEDs has gotten cracked down.
My boy Kershaw hasn't done too great in the playoffs.
But I wouldn't even say, I wouldn't say starting pitching. I would say relief pitching.
I mean, it's a
Relief
combination.
pitching is the most important
It's
thing
both.
in baseball, because if you have bad starting pitching, what that normally means is 1 out of every 7 games your guy will give up 8 runs in the first 3 innings. And
Yeah,
it's
but
whatever.
if you can have
But-
Arrieta last year just carried the Cubs. They had
But
a
you
solid...
can there's only one Arrieta every year. Madison Bumgarner carried the Giants a little bit ago.
Right, but I'm
he
saying
carried them to a World Series title. But in general, for all teams, especially if you don't have someone who goes crazy, and you never know who it's going to be, because Arrieta wasn't a top flight MLB pitcher until this year when he just decided he was going to dominate everyone.
Yeah.
Before that, no one really knew he was going to be that player. Madison Bumgarner, no one really knew that he was the guy until that year when he led the Giants to the World Series almost by himself.
But that doesn't mean when that year comes that it's not as important as it is.
But you don't know who it is, and it is very rarely the most talented, the most coveted, the most talked about player going in. It is very rarely the person.
Okay,
who
so here's my
succeeds.
point. I think the Cubs, their pitching, it's not amazing on paper, but I think they have a solid bullpen.
I mean-
and I think their starters, they have the potential to be good, and I think the rest of their
They
team
all have
is
the
just.
potential to be good. Man.
But the rest of their team is
Baseball.
just so deep. I mean, their starting lineup is just
Deep.
unbelievable.
It's so deep, man.
So obviously, it's gonna
it's
depend
like a
on
16-year-old writing poetry. It's so deep.
It's going to depend on how their pitching does, obviously. But I think because they have the best starting 9 in baseball, I'm taking the Cubs.
The Cubs don't have the best bullpen in baseball,
That's true.
and that is the only thing that really is going to matter. If their
But how
bullpen
do you know
becomes
that
one
if you
of the
said
best,
if you can't tell?
well, if their bullpen proves to everyone over the course of the season that's one of the best, then they'll win. But if that bullpen is not in the top 5 or 6 in the entire major leagues, then they will not win the World Series. I guarantee you.
I think
All of the rotation depth, all of the starting pitching depth will not help them. In fact, it won't matter at all. As a Tigers fan, I know that personally. You can have 2-3 of the best offensive players in the game that year that the Tigers had Miguel Cabrera and Yoenis Cespedes and Victor Martinez and Alex Avila. That team was incredible.
Yeah.
And they made it to the ALCS, I want to say. They
Yeah.
lost in 6 games. That's just what happens.
I think there are a lot of parallels you can draw between the Tigers and the Cubs.
But that's not a good thing for the Cubs,
No,
especially not when it comes to winning World Series.
But the thing is, like, you don't know how the Cubs pitching is going to turn out. So I think if they can be like you said, like around the top 5, like bullpen in the MLB, I think they'll absolutely win the World Series. Jesus. It's okay.
So anyways, now that we've calmed down the crowd noise a little bit, so MLB stuff, the Cubs don't have a chance to win the World Series.
Don't have a chance?
Well, only because everyone's talking about them, which is really the critical.
As much as I
A
hate
team
it,
that
it's
is
true.
favored usually doesn't win.
That's probably
That's
true.
what tips the scale. If you're talking about a team winning the
I'm
World
hoping
Series
if
all
no one's
year,
talking about my Dodgers.
exactly. That's the best place a baseball team can be.
I mean,
That's
the
just always
Cubs
true.
could have the best.
They could have the best
They could have the
everything.
best
Wouldn't
everything. They just
Wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
So what else do we got?
All right, so now we're gonna move to the DFL, which
Downstairs Football League.
just ended a few days ago with our own Chris Lopez as the champion of the DFL once again.
Two titles in
Yeah.
3 seasons.
Yeah, it was a great championship game. I tell you what,
It was.
Leroy is really good at offense in particular, and whenever we play, it's always who is going to be the one that gets stopped.
Yeah.
Because in that game, every single possession ended in a score. The difference is I got a pick 6, and that was the difference in the game.
Isn't it always in the DFL? The pick 6 is normally determined.
It's a huge turning point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about the few possessions that are the difference between victory and defeat, especially in football. In the game NCAA, you have to, if you're going to throw a pick 6, you have to do a lot to recover from that.
Mhm.
And luckily, my defense was playing well enough where he couldn't do what he wanted.
Yeah.
Which was, even though he scored on almost every possession, this could sound silly to say, but my defense was playing relatively well. I had a lot of drop picks, a lot of good opportunities to make plays, finally came through on one, and it just happened to be the only one I needed. But Roberto Aguayo hitting a 45-yard
Don't even
field
bring
goal
him up.
as time expires. We remember.
Is he a senior?
I don't know. I'm switching. I'm switching to Michigan.
You're switching anyway. Yeah.
I'm switching to Michigan, but as we know, hit the 58-yard field goal a couple
59.
weeks. 59-yard field goal a couple weeks ago. That was probably my favorite win of the season, though, with the exception of maybe the championship game.
Not
Two trophies on the wall now, though. We don't really have a trophy for the league, and we should probably
need it.
make
No,
one.
Leroy, I think he bought little trophies.
Oh yeah, he's got the tiny
little ones.
So, Beagle, how did your season end up?
Heading into the season, I had higher hopes. I don't know. I was 5-7.
Can I mention that Brandon Gold had 9 potential teams that he could pick from, and he was fifth in the draft order.
No, I think I was third.
Third. And how many teams did you have that you were choosing between?
Well, I got to do my. I don't know. I had like at least 7.
Yeah.
Who did you end up picking?
Oklahoma.
I don't know if that went well for you.
What I struggled with most was the Oklahoma offense. I think my game with you was like 12-3.
Yeah.
I had a game with Connor. That was a little more. That was, I think, 14-7 or 17-7. And I actually switched offenses to your new team. I use the USC offense now, and I've done a lot better. I lost to Leroy by 1 touchdown, which I was very proud
But
of.
where you went wrong.
And what?
When we
Picking
added
the
new
team?
people, you tried to get a big head.
That's true.
You were really confident with all those new people coming to the league.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
So I think that mixed with struggling with the Oklahoma offense, I could have, not should have, because Charlie and Connor, they earned those wins, and I'll give them that.
Always the quality sport, Brandon.
I
Bowles.
could have
Good guy.
been 7-5 with the bowl game, but I don't know. Struggled. I had a nice win against Luttrell.
You gotta get back on track.
But
soon.
no, yeah,
Also,
I
you played
think
Luttrell when he was drunk.
he was not that drunk.
He was,
And
pretty-
half the things he said when you had him on the podcast was
It's
lies.
Luttrell kind of
The
thing.
clock
to
was
say.
the clock was not on conservative. He approached me to play. I did not come to him.
Yeah. Luttrell would definitely say afterwards that he was drunk.
Wait, no, but
He was not that.
But let's be
he
fair.
was fine.
Remember,
It wasn't like playing you when
Yeah.
the Lions lost on that touchdown. And again, you came to me wanting to play.
okay, but so you know how you can't give consent after a certain level of intoxication.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's called being a dick, which is what you were both times.
That's
Boom.
no
Okay,
excuse.
granted,
Boom.
the one against you, I probably should not have played. But I think Luttrell and Myers,
If you
he
give
was
consent,
perfectly
well,
fine.
Latrell was probably
He was
being a little bit
perfectly
wuss
fine.
about, but you know,
It was 17. It wasn't even a blowout.
you know,
And I kicked a field goal at the end because I always run the ball.
There's a phrase that
It's a mind game.
I have
Yeah.
that I totally stole from a podcast I listen to, which is a Jalen and Jacoby podcast. Shout out to them. But it's called a habitual line stepper, and that's what you are. Whenever there's
What a great phrase.
no one else has any problems about playing people when they're too inebriated. Nobody else. Nobody else comes into these controversies. Only Brandon Gold.
No, I'm
It's
on
only
Beagle
been one.
side.
Only the
I'm
person-
on
It's only
Beagle
been
side
one.
for this
It's
one.
only
It's
been
only been
one.
two.
No, I don't even count. Latrell was perfectly fine. He
Yeah.
had what, 3 beers or whatever,
I don't believe. I just don't believe. Like
and then he's in
No,
a frat.
normally, as with most cases, the truth falls
Latrell
somewhere in
was
the
fine.
middle of these two
No,
stories.
I'm on Beagle's side.
But you're
for this
going on the
one.
record saying he is not true.
Not true in what
3
sense?
beers. Three beers only.
I think not 3 beers, but he was fine. He wasn't
was
like
fine?
you.
Well-
You were like really depressed after the Lions lost. Granted, I agree. I should not have played the
I
game
was so
against you.
sad.
The game was, that
How
was
could you
40.
take advantage
It was
of me like that?
45-6, and you left halfway in the third quarter.
Yeah, it was not good. Why would you do that to me?
I'm sorry.
And I still played the
Brandon
championship
Gold
game.
takes no prisoners.
God,
It was because I had the one fumble against Brad.
what a season, man.
Great
But
stuff.
I think I could go 6-6, maybe with a bowl.
Have you made a bowl game yet?
I had one last season.
Okay, so you can make another one.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
I think
Charlie,
so.
what-
I
what
think
was
so.
your
my
final
season,
record?
if anybody cares, 6-6, which my inaugural season, like I'll take it. Definitely had
Hey,
left some wins
I'll
out
take
there.
a 6-6 if that's my first DFL season.
Yeah, because
My first one was what, 2-10,
Jesus.
1-11.
Yeah, especially like my game with
3.
Leroy was closer than I thought it would be. My game, I should have beaten you, so that's
Should have.
No,
Or-
not you.
take it.
You did beat me.
no.
No,
Lopez.
me.
No, Lopez. No, you were looking at me.
He
when you said
probably
that.
should have beaten me, but I probably should have cared about the game while
What was,
I was
there,
playing.
there was one game I think Connor should have beaten Leroy, and something
Yeah.
stupid happened. Like he threw a pick,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Those
Yeah,
are the-
yeah.
those-
Shoulda, coulda,
Well,
woulda.
the thing
Exactly.
is, with me and Connor, like this, we're just going through like the trials and tribulations of an inaugural season. So like I'm taking it as a positive.
Would you know if
I learned
Connor
a lot.
finished with a better record or not? Or who's
Co-
the rookie of the year? definitely not Eduardo.
I don't remember. I think he might have been like 7-5.
I would expect
But
that he
the
was.
difference is that he drafted number 1, number
Two.
2, and I think I drafted like number 7 or something.
Yeah.
And he is marginally better than me, or we are very close in terms of ability. So I don't know what.
What
Leroy
you have
was
to do
thinking
is
there.
you have to develop your offense past like 3 plays.
Well, B-Tang is going to teach me since he said once I play him for the last time, he's going to teach me his ways.
Having played Brandon Tang, and when your specific problem is you don't call enough
like the
different
hot
plays.
routes, I never hot route, and
But-
the stuff
okay,
he's
so-
telling me is
but-
unbelievable.
Anyways, so you have a problem with calling too few different plays. You only call like 3 or 4 plays. Brandon Tang, he only calls like 5 or 6.
Yeah, but he hot
I
routes
played-
into different things.
but I played
which
Bra-
counts as different.
I've never played Brandon.
Okay,
Tang.
so you say it counts as different plays. I'm telling you, it barely does. It's not what true like you have to be able to just be comfortable using different kinds of plays so that when you get a defense that stops you once, you're able to adjust.
I remember I think it was a month or 2 ago when you said, it's not the worst offense to just have 4 verticals and slants the whole time.
It's not. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. You're not.
I know, but you were advising me
You're
when
never
I,
gonna
when I,
compete for
when
a
I was
title like
trying
that.
out different plays and
When-
throwing picks. You kept saying, it's not the worst offense to
When
try out 4
you
verticals.
were just beginning the game and you had no idea what you were doing, that's what I told you so you would focus on just a few plays. Now that you've focused on just a few plays, you need to diversify, or else you will never get better than 6-6. Ask Brandon Gold. Did you
Wow.
Did you diversify?
A little bit.
Not enough.
I used to never throw the ball
That's
unless
true.
it was 3rd and long.
Yeah.
Now I throw it occasionally.
Also, Connor 7-5.
Still heavily
Charlie-
favored on the
Charlie
running
6-6.
play.
Okay. So Connor
Connor
Murray, the
Connor
inaugural
having
rookie of the year.
Alabama.
Well,
The unbelievable defense,
It happens.
unbelievable running game.
it happens.
Mm.
You have to overcome, Charlie.
Although I'm moving to USC next season though, so I'm anticipating a few more wins.
You'll at least have a better defense, but you won't have as mobile a quarterback. And you'll
Yeah, but that's okay.
A lot of your offense is based on that. So you'll
Yeah,
need to
but
work
I'm
on
ready to kind of morph out of that. I didn't like that offense.
So you'll start to understand more different plays. You'll get it. I'm not
Yeah.
worried. So
I'm just hoping for a non-Lopez versus Leroy
Yes.
Oh yeah,
conference
Thank
3
you.
years in a row we've had the same
Thank
people in
you.
the conference titles, and you can hope, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
No one
yeah.
steps up to challenge us.
I thought Kevin might have broken through this year.
Kevin
Couldn't do it.
Kevin won't break through because he doesn't consistently care enough.
Yeah,
that's his
true.
problem. is he won't put together a whole season. He could beat me or Leroy any given day, but he will inevitably lose 2 or 3 games just because he simply doesn't care.
Also, Brandon Tang finishing
for a whole
6th.
Hey, Brandon Tang had a bad year.
Yeah. What happened?
It's-
Wheels fell off.
Brandon Tang is the next person in line to beat either me or
That's what I was
Leroy.
thinking too. Yeah.
And he
Latrell,
really
Latrell's
doesn't
on the
have it.
rise too.
I'm not.
What was
I'm
he,
not
8
worried
and 4?
about Latrell.
8-4.
And he wasn't happy with his season.
I'm
Yeah,
not-
but he
I ain't
learned.
worried.
He's a fast learner. I could see him moving up, and surprising some people.
I ain't worried. Me and Leroy will be back in the next conference
So
championship.
how many is it?
You heard it here first. 3 seasons running. It'll be a 4th shortly, and we will be taking Michigan and Washington, respectively, to the conference championship. I can't wait for that game.
It's gonna be no fun when Leroy graduates.
Yeah, because I'm just gonna run train on all of you
It's
guys.
not gonna.
Oh,
be
it's gonna be
fun at all.
hilarious.
You're gonna have to pick. We're gonna have to make you like have a ratings max for the team you pick.
Probably. You'll need to cap me out at like 85.
You're gonna need to be FCS East.
I mean,
Or Colorado.
there
Yeah.
or call, which I was already.
Yeah, but we were on the Pac-12.
So, hopefully, we'll see. Hopefully, it won't be too bad.
We'll see.
Maybe one of these years, one of you guys will sneak into the conference championship. I'm not sure. The only thing I am sure about is this podcast is just about done. I'm hungry and I gotta go to the bathroom anyways. Charlie,
Too much information.
take us out. Take us home.
All right. Thanks everybody. See you later. Thank you, Brandon Gold.
Thank you for having me. Ball don't lie.